Hello, everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I'm so delighted to welcome our next guest. I did tell them that I wanted them on, and I met them, and I told them they need to come on, and they are now here. And I told them they're also coming back for another interview at some point. So we're going to make it happen. But the main reason that they are here today is to talk about I Put a Spell on You, ALiiVE. I think I have to do a sound like a witch when I say it,
I think
right?
you do. It's funny. I haven't said it. I'm realizing in this moment that I have never said it out loud
You want to
because
try it
I
now?
always say in our like pre-production meetings and our production meetings, I'm always saying Ipisoi because
Hmm.
it's the acronym. But
Yeah.
but I guess it would be Ipisoya now because it's the
Yeah.
ALiiVE version. This is the ninth year that we've done I Put a Spell on You. So this
Yes.
is and my fourth, maybe fifth year involved. I've been doing it
Well,
for a while.
well, let's
Um,
say who you are first because I didn't
okay,
mention your name.
okay, well, that's awesome.
They're Let's like also do more of an intro. Ready? They are a composer, a lyricist, an actor, diversity dramaturg, writer, director, teacher, multi-hyphenate instrumental music player person. They were also in one of my favorite musicals of all time. And if you listen to the podcast, you know one of them is Natasha Pierre in The Great Comet of 1812. Please welcome Heath Saunders. Woo woo, woo woo, woo woo.
I would like all of our listeners to understand that I was dancing that whole time.
Please,
It, they should have felt it because it was
yeah,
the music of your voice was so beautiful to me, and
thank you.
I was
I
just really.
can carry a tune, although I
Oh,
did do a cabaret a couple of years ago and I have PTSD from like singing in front of people.
ah, yes, where was it?
Where was it? It was at the Green Room for
Ah,
Heath.
yes, the green room. I
Yes.
never went.
Yes. It was a cabaret I directed and hosted, and I was like, I'm gonna sing. I did like virtual readings during the pandemic. So
No.
like the reading company were like, let's put on a cabaret
Yeah.
and raise money. And like we hardly made any money.
You
And
were like, as a theater enthusiast, I
yeah,
have to do. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. We're just like, let's have people who like did our readings sing with us. And then we had somebody in the cabaret who didn't even do any of our readings, but I saw them at a bar and I met them and I was like, hey, do this cabaret. And they said yes. So
Do you actually want to hear this is crazy lore about Heath Saunders?
tell me everything.
How I would say that I got so after.
Mhm.
Do, are you familiar with Marissa Michelson at all?
The name is very familiar.
I a huge piece of my last like 4 years, 5 years, oh my
Mhm.
God, 7 years of my life
Oh, I
has
thought you
been.
were like, you saw my mug and you were like, oh my God, hot priest.
Oh, it is hot, the hot part.
Yeah. He's
Does
a
it say
very
hot
big
priest?
part of this podcast. It says Neil
Okay,
on the
fair.
back. Yeah.
Honestly, that's the
So
correct response.
I am seeing Vanya twice.
Oh yeah, you got
Oh yeah.
it. I so after Great Comet. Wait, how much time do I have to tell this entire
You don't
story?
have a lot of time,
You
but
know
that's
what? I'm gonna
back
keep
on.
this story for Great Comet lore for the next time I come on. I'm gonna
Yes.
tell. There's a
Maybe
little
I'll,
cherished. It's gonna
yeah.
be a follow-up episode, and it'll be
Yeah, I'm
like,
gonna wear my Great Comet t-shirt and
right.
I'll have, like all my Great Comets. I even have the shakers. I'll bring that out.
The only Great Comet thing I have around me right this second
Mhm.
is I have. Nope, I'm gonna stay with the lore.
I already told you.
I'm so excited for our Great Comet episode. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, well, like I said, how we did like these virtual readings, we were actually going to do a Great Comet reunion because we worked with Nick Gasworth.
Amazing.
Yeah, and he's friends with the guy I did this stuff with, and now I'm friends with whatever. So we tried to put together like a virtual Great Comet reunion and just didn't work out. But yeah,
I'm trying to
anyway,
think if I remember this event happening. I remembered Gassy reaching out to me at some point for something. It might have been
yeah,
this.
maybe. I don't know. I mean, luckily I had like somebody else's email because when we had to like resurrect the readings, I got Nicholas Belton to do one of our readings. So
Nice.
I had his email. I was like, I'm just going to reach out to him. And he did it. And it was great.
Nice.
Anyway, back to you. And do you want to say, I don't, my brain is farting right now. I put a spell on you. ALiiVE. Do you want to say it out loud?
I put a spell on you alive. See, I did it too.
There you
I
go.
put a spell on you alive at Webster Hall.
Yes.
This is our
But
first year we're at Webster Hall, which is exciting.
yes, I know. Cause I was trying to remember who was in it and I Googled Sony Hall and I was like, this isn't correct. But
No, we did something all last year and the year before.
yeah. So let's talk about it. So I spoke with Jay Armstrong Johnson last year. He was actually a guest on my podcast.
Love it.
And I love this event that he does because I love a holiday. I love a
Mhm.
dress up. I love a theme.
So you
And
love
so
Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite holiday. I mean, give me the holiday season. Would you say? I'm sorry.
What's your favorite holiday?
I'm Jewish, but I love Christmas.
Okay, word.
Yeah, my
Awesome.
stepdad isn't Jewish, so we celebrate Christmas. I love the holidays. It's just
You love
it's
a
a
holiday.
warm feeling. But listen, I
Okay.
love a yeah, yeah, moving on. So, more importantly, I Put a Spell on You benefits something. I don't know if it's the same thing every year, but I know that this year they're benefiting the Ali, I think I just spit. Sorry, the Ali Forney
Yeah.
Center, and they work with to end homelessness.
Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
you could
The
say,
ALiiVE, right? The ALiiVE Center is the nation's largest agency, which is serving LGBTQ plus youth who are experiencing homelessness. It
yes,
is a center to serve homeless youth, specifically queer homeless youth. It's a
yeah.
really important cause. It's really because, of course, queer youth end up experiencing homelessness at much higher rates than other youth because they get kicked out of their homes or uh, for you know all the reasons one might. And the California Center is a really, really great resource for these kids.
So, what made you guys, or who makes the decision on which organization to work with on these events? And I
That's
can't
it's
remember if
yeah.
this is the first time that they've worked with the Ali Forney Center, or is
I
it?
think I think this is the second time we worked with the California Center specifically. There's a lot. Yeah, it's this. Jay's oriented towards service. Like when he's going to do a giant blowout thing where he gets to dress up as Winifred, he's oriented towards this. So how he can make it a event to give back.
Yeah,
And what he queer homelessness, queer youth homelessness is a really really important cause to Jay. And so and all of us who are sort of surrounding him and we're all many of us are queer. Of course, I'm queer in my own weird spectrum of a rainbow way. But so he chooses this sort of cause, and we are all 100% behind it.
yeah. So, how did you? I know that you're friends with Jay, having,
Mm.
I actually, that's how I met you because I went up to him at the master event because I interviewed him, and
Uh-huh.
that's how I met you. And they're like, Heath, I was like, I know who you are. Because
Uh-huh.
great comment, Alice by heart. I loved you as the caterpillar, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I did. I remember you specifically. And what else and company like well, again, when you're back on, well, I'll convel over you.
Get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So, how did you get involved with I Put a Spell on You Live? And how did you end up being the one to direct this? Because I feel like, because I feel like it's a lot of moving pieces. You got a lot of wonderful people involved, performers, choreographers, designers. It's at Webster Hall, which is a really great space. So, how did you get involved? How'd you end up directing?
So I got involved with I Put a Spell on You before it was ALiiVE. I basically there's I Put a Spell on You happens every year, has for the last 9 years. I the first time I was involved in it, it was at Le Poisson Rouge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it because Jay had worked with my sisters and I come from a massive family of theater maker
Oh,
people.
again, when you come back on,
We'll have to go into it.
well, yeah, again, I did my research.
The way I got into to I Put a Spell on You was through my sisters, who were the evil step sisters that first year that they did that track,
Mhm.
and I basically came in and played Billy Butcherson, and then I played Billy Butcherson for several years. And the thing about playing Billy Butcherson is that you'll notice I'm clean shaven right now because every time I do I Put a Spell on You, Jay decides that I need to end up in full makeup, like truly over the top, like horror makeup. And so the first year I was doing Billy Butcherson, so gave me like full prosthetic face, and it was like a whole thing. And then the day of doing the show is this like crazy like 12-hour marathon of a day,
Mhm.
and I had done it several years, basically getting put into this makeup. And then we did when the pandemic happened, we did a sort of video version of it where, and again, I did a massive shoot day, and I kept being put into this makeup. And it was funny because last year I was like, Jay, I don't want to get put into the Billy Butcherson makeup anymore. but I'm happy to continue to be involved. And he was like, what I would love you to do this year is Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas, because I had done Jack Skellington at a number of 54 Below readings of Nightmare Before Christmas. I was playing Jack with Natalie Walker, my great friend who's now in Big Gay Jamboree. Shout out.
Okay.
But we had done that. He had seen me do Jack Skellington. He's like, you got to do Jack Skellington in the show. Then last year, I was like, fine, I'll do Jack Skellington. And the whole way is that you basically find a character and then you put it to a song. And I ended up singing a Panic at the Disco song, which was my sort of bread and butter comes from like screaming punk rock music. So I was like, yay, I get to. And then I got to the day to do the Jack Skellington, and turns out I had to be in full bald cap, full makeup, full white face. And I was like, are we kidding? So then I ended up in a huge amount of makeup. Anyway, this is all to say that there's this running joke between Jay and I about how much makeup he puts me in every year for his Halloween show.
Mhm.
And we, due to a sequence of things, there was some shuffling around with the creative team this year. And I was like, you know what? I've been directing a lot more in the last year or 2 years of my life, moving into sort of that space I'm moving away from performance and into sort of direction.
Mhm.
And this was a great opportunity. It's a really great show. I know the show really, really well. And I was like, Jay, I could direct it this year. And he was like, that's a really great idea. And lo and behold, here I am directing I Put a Spell on You, ALiiVE at Webster Hall.
Well, I know that you also did tease that you may or may not also be performing.
I am appearing in it, but I
Yeah.
am not appearing in it live. I,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So at
I
least
will.
so like full makeup, but not day of.
Yes.
Okay,
Which I said I will compromise and do that.
perfect. So what has the process been like? Because before we started, you said that, you're in the thick of it right now, rehearsing it. And how is the rehearsal going? What should people expect? What are you hoping people get out of this event?
Well, the for me, I Put a Spell on You is just it's a singular blowout experience. It is a specific like one night only in New York experience that you can have. It's like part drag show, part cabaret, part Broadway Bears, part like there's just like it's just like a massive production experience.
Mhm.
Um, there is a story to it in as much as there's like it's consistent over the last 9 years. There's like a continuation of the thing, but you don't have to have seen it before to understand what's going on. Plus, you may have seen it before and still not understand what's going on. The whole thing is just a production experience.
Mhm.
And that means that the process of putting it together for me is really about encouraging ambitious artists, choreographers specifically. We work with choreographers and designers to sort of create these massive numbers, these massive production numbers. And for me, a lot of what I do, I've been working with Jay on this since April of this year, and a lot of what we do is sort of just conceiving of what the show is going to be, talking about what the numbers are going to be, and then we like give out the numbers to choreographers, many established, many who are first time doing something really exciting like this. We basically delegate all of the work to building the numbers to them. All of them have been working. They actually did pre-pro all last week. We start rehearsals with the actual performers who are doing them starting tomorrow. So I haven't I know most of the performers who are doing it, but I won't have seen them do what they're doing until this coming week. And I basically come in at the end of their rehearsal process to talk to them about how it fits together and like where they're going to go, ins and outs, what mics they're using, if they're using mic, like those. That's like most of what I'm doing at this point is all of my sort of creative conception stuff has already happened. Right now, I've sort of handed it off to a bunch of incredibly talented choreography teams led by Mikey Sylvester, who is our sort of choreo overlord this year. And then DW, who is doing all of our design, who heads up the design. He has a sequence of designers who are all working for him, and they all work together. They create this thing. Then I look at it all, and I connect it all together. So I did a huge amount of work earlier. Right now, I'm sort of letting everybody do their thing, and then I'm going to come back in and tell everybody that everything's wrong.
So if
As
people, as yeah, that just like brought me back to the pandemic with these readings, because I would always say to people like, how was that for you? And then somebody said to me like, you always say that and then you give us notes.
Right.
Like, well,
I
that's what
said,
the actors do.
well, yeah, and for me, that it's funny that how was that for you is a really important part of the question, because really what you're trying to do is figure out a shared language that you can use between you, the director, and the actor, so that you're speaking their language. Because if there's one thing you'll learn about actors is that they all speak different languages, and the one of the biggest sort of errors I think young directors make is thinking that all actors speak the same language of theater making. And that can be really challenging for actors. It can create a really sort of like adversarial relationship. So you're actually a step ahead by asking them what they feel so that you can get what they have, the language that they want to speak, and then speak that
You
language.
as my hair is like falling out of whatever it's right now. So, I mean, you mentioned that you're kind of transitioning into directing, and we can get into this more when you're coming back on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because, you also do readings and workshops and you write your own stuff, you compose your own stuff. So I don't really know like what else you've directed, but if it's been like readings or plays or musicals, how is that different than doing like a huge event like this for you?
With I think the biggest difference for me, I've done a lot of I do a lot of readings. People know that that's what I have a lot of experience doing, so I get asked to do that kind of thing a lot. Um, the biggest difference between that process and an event like this is that with a reading, the focus is really on trying to help us better understand what the script is. So all of the sort of choices that I'm doing is all in service of the text specifically. With an event like this, it's much more uh, moving parts and making sure that things are running smoothly. So it's a lot more like running between departments and making sure that people know what other departments are doing. I'm learning a huge amount of that. I had this funny moment of learning a couple days ago when I had a meeting with with lighting, and we were talking about what equipment we had in the room, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And I actually had a meeting with the designers, and I was talking to makeup and costumes, and they were both makeup and costumes were lamenting when lighting doesn't understand that makeup doesn't show up under stage lights the way that it looks in makeup lights, and you want the lighting to be able to properly illuminate the makeup for what the makeup is. And there was this sort of lamentation of like, oh no, you'll spend all this time designing this like beautiful makeup, and then it'll go on stage and you can't see any of it. And I was like, oh, this is so interesting. It's like, I'm like, duh, this is the thing that I've observed in processes before, but I never thought about the fact that it was like, oh, it's because the lighting team and the makeup and costumes team and the set team weren't effectively communicating what they needed from each other. And I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. And then the next time I had my meeting with my lighting, I was like, so just so you can know, this is what they're looking for from the design. And my lighting guy was like, oh yeah, great, I can make that happen. And I was like, cool. It just is like, but I would never have thought to do that. I would never have thought that those two things were connected in that way until I was like sitting down and like shooting the shit with my designer and making sure that I was able to be attentive to what they cared about in that moment for their design. Because at the end of the day, as a director, you're at the head of a bunch of different artists who all have different sort of goals for what's happening, and you need to sort of pull them together and make a cohesive event. Back to the actual question that you asked, with
Mhm.
readings, the cohesive event is really in the text. It's the thing itself. With an event like this, the cohesive event is the experience.
Mhm.
So really, we're just trying to like facilitate a crazy, impactful, unbelievable experience for everybody who's in the room for
Mhm.
that on this single night of the year.
So if people aren't able to make the event, how can they donate to the Ali Forney Center? Also, if they are at the event, are they able to also continue to donate while they're there?
That is a great question. That is not on my talking points list. So I'm going to not answer it directly
Okay.
because I don't want to lie.
Okay. Well, I
Uh,
mean, I'm sure there's links on
Yes,
the
there are
event
going to
page.
be links. There's a thing called the Spookathon, which is a thing, the ins and outs of which I am very bad at explaining. But essentially, everybody is doing their own fundraising piece. If you go to IPASOW or IPASOY.live, you will have access to tickets, and a lot of this information is available there too. So all of the just let me just double check to make sure that I am not lying to you because
And
not
also
lying.
for those listening, when I post on my Instagram stories that you're on, I will also post the link of this where you can get tickets, where you can donate. So there will be a link available um, on my
Yes,
Instagram stories when this episode is announced.
yes, and there is a yes on that thing. We there's a lot of information about donating. You can if you go to ipasoy.live. There's information for how to donate directly to the ALiiVE Center.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So,
that's the question you're looking for.
so as we are coming to a close, as we have just talked about the ninth annual I Put a Spell on You live, live. So I'm trying to do like my witchy voice while doing it.
Yeah, I
Live.
just makes me feel like a little like I'm gagging.
Hmm.
Do you know what I
I'm
mean? I'm
feeling a
a little.
little phlegmy. I don't know. I mean, if we had Jay here, he can just do it
I'm
as
sure he's
like
something
one
much
of
better
her.
than either of us.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny was because when I was on Instagram, and you know how Instagram just like shows you pages now that you don't even follow, there was him singing No Good Deed as
Uh,
Winifred. And I was,
uh,
oh, the irony that I'm about to interview Heath and I'm like looking at this amazing video.
yeah,
So
no. What's
yeah,
to be done?
go to I Put a Spell on You live on Monday, October 21st at Webster Hall. That's what can be
Yeah,
done. So is
Webster.
yes, anything you'd like to add or like shout out, like anything that we missed about this event that you think is important that people need to know about it?
In addition to it being so on Monday, October 21st at 8 p.m., the doors open at 7. Uh, it's followed by a dance party and a costume contest. So if you're coming to the event, then you should also come up in your spookiest, scariest, most dazzling, most exciting Halloween attire to take part in that costume contest, which is also part of it.
What do they win if they win the costume contest?
I don't. You ask me questions sometimes, like I know answer. You have to understand that because I'm doing 900 things,
You're
I
just
the way
here.
that I prepare for a given thing is I get a bunch of talking points and then I like work on how to say them like I'm coming up with them. Almost everything I've said to you is like locked and loaded. And
Did
then you
somebody
hit
actually give you talking points for this interview or did you make them?
absolutely.
That's
I
hilarious.
I request before I don't want to lie to anybody because and I this is I again you can tell I it's really easy to get me to go off on any little tangent, which is why it's much more fun when I'm talking about myself because you can just be like, wait, what about that? I'll be like, well, here's this thing that's true. But when I have to pitch something, then I need to be specific about what I'm pitching. Make sure that I'm not lying about the dates because I'm very bad with dates. I don't know when October 21st is.
It's a
It's
Monday.
it is a Monday, which is tomorrow, a week from tomorrow. So
Mhm.
okay, wait, but this won't come out today.
Coming out this week. Don't worry about
Okay,
it.
so it's coming out this week. It's sometime. Okay, it's Monday. See, this is my point. I have my brain is working on lots of things. I'm trying to, if here's the thing.
This like I feel like you and I are going to be really great friends. I
It feels that way.
I feel it. It's happening. And honestly, like I always tell people when they come onto the podcast, because before I interview people, I always go like anything you do or you don't want to talk about, like this is what the podcast is. If you haven't heard about it, I always say sometimes we go off on tangents. Like I interviewed somebody and we literally spoke about books for 20 minutes.
That makes a lot of sense, and that is me in a nutshell. I
Great.
cannot stay on topic.
That's fine. And
But
then I
there's
will bring it back.
so that's exactly so that I'm like this is you like you said you're good at your job. My job is to have be a lot of information and including having talking points.
Yeah,
So I will not have talking points for our
that's fine.
future interview
That's
because
fine.
I'm just going to be winging it. But this one I was prepared for.
That's fine. Listen, I winging it is sometimes, I mean, I will have my research and I will have like just I would be like, let's just spend an hour talking about Great Comet. That I
And
could
we
talk about,
so good.
yeah. I mean, I've told people like I can do an entire episode about Great Comet and I can do an entire episode about once.
Mm. Oh, well, 2 shows I've done.
Oh, did was it regional?
Yeah, I did it at Hangar Theater.
Who did you play?
Guy.
Oh, what? Oh, we'll get into it then.
Once is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
shocked that you didn't know that. You didn't do your research.
I only because I didn't know how much time I had with you, so I
I'm,
picked highlights.
I'm kidding.
But now that I know, I'm writing once right now.
Okay,
I
well,
wrote Roger in Rent because
yes,
I
that's
knew
right. I was
you
just
did
doing that.
that.
Yeah,
Um,
step back.
the once is now written down. You're welcome. But no, I had Steve Kazan, who was the original guy from Once,
Yeah.
and then we started talking about Once, and I started to cry. So I
Uh,
mean, that show does mean a lot to me, and I'm happy that we now have that also to talk about when you come back on. But more importantly, I put a spell on you, alive, playing
right.
Webster Hall on Monday the 21st. Go to you want to say
IPASOY.live.
dot live to get your tickets. Also, if you aren't able to make it, go to the website. You can find out how you can donate to the ALiiVE Center. Um,
And there's ways that you'll be able to see the things that we do. There's like a streaming situation. There's like a lot of ways in which you can actually see and interact with the show that are not necessarily just on that day. But
yeah, but I mean, you want to go because there's a
we want
dance
to go.
a costume contest, and it's
There's a
Webster.
dance party for the costume contest. And if there's one thing that Heath loves, it's theater. And for me, the most important part of theater is singing something in the room where it happens, not to be all Hamilton-y on you. But I do
And
think being in the room, experiencing people making theater, doing their art that they love is
yeah.
there's nothing like it.
I mean, I haven't seen I put a spell on you yet, but I think it's an experience to see. I have no money, but I think it's an experience. Don't give me that look. I think it's an experience probably to see Jay dressed as
Uh,
Winifred.
that
Yeah.
is a big piece of it. You'll also see a bunch of like great Broadway stars
Yeah,
and
Robin Herder, Max Clayton. I wrote some people
like
down.
F. Michael Haney.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Todrick Hall, Jay
there's,
Harrison Key.
yeah, there's Tony
Yeah.
Awards are going to be on stage,
Wow.
full Tony Awards. So
Wow. But whose Tonys are they?
Jay's, not
Oh,
Jay Johnson, Jay Gee.
are we dressing up Jay Geese Harrison's Tony Award as a Halloween character?
I hope so. You know
Yeah,
what? Actually, I'm going to take that note down right now. I'm gonna see whether I can make that happen.
yeah,
It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time. You should come see
yeah.
it. That's the point.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. You can stay on once we're done recording. And thank you for listening. And everyone, please go see I Put a Spell on You live and donate to the ALiiVE Center. And until our next podcast where we just talk about great comedy and once the whole time.
The whole time.
And a smattering of company.
You know, a smattering of company. You'll also get me. You'll really get me talking about theater because I have a lot of opinions about how theater is made that I have big plans on how to change.
Well, that's what we're here for. And that's what we're excited to learn more about. All right, Heath, thank you so much. And thanks all for listening.